Probably you already know the difference between assets and liabilities, right? Simply put, assets are things that put money in your pocket, while liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. In this video, I'll teach you the difference between assets and liabilities in more detail, and then I'll tell you how to acquire more assets than liabilities. The definition of an asset is very simple in financial accounting. It's anything that can be used to generate more money. Yet many often confuse the difference between the two. A classic example is a house. Is it an asset? Some think that buying a house is an asset unless you plan to sell or rent it out. It's a liability, and a big one at that. It will take money from you for years due to the financing, not to mention all the maintenance costs you'll have monthly. That doesn't put money in your pocket. On the other hand, if you plan to resell the property for a higher price, that can be considered an asset. You can also call investments assets because they will generate money for you through dividends, or you can resell them and generate profits through capital gains. We'll explain this in the video sequence. Can you tell me if a car is an asset? If you buy a car, its price drops tremendously the moment you buy it. Used cars are worth significantly less than new cars, so it would be foolish to consider them assets, right? Well, many still argue this by saying that since you can later resell the car, you can consider it an asset. In my world, a good asset also needs to generate profit. Something like a car that depreciates rapidly shouldn't be considered an asset. Whether you sell it 2 hours or 2 years after buying it, you still won't be profitable because you won't sell it for a higher price. Now I'll explain the difference between tangible and intangible assets. This is very easy. Tangible assets are physical. You can touch them and interact with them. Some examples are land, properties, equipment, money, stocks, and so on. Intangible assets are assets that you can't touch, that aren't physical. Some examples are brands, patents, copyrights, and so on. Financial assets versus real assets. These are often confused and not separated. People simply lump real, financial, and tangible assets together as if they were the same thing and brought the same profit. But that's not how it works in reality. Simply put, real assets have intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is the actual value of an asset without any market influence, which is why they're called real assets. Financial assets use market trading prices to set their value, which means you may end up paying for something more than it's really worth, which isn't good because you'll lose money. That's also why people like Warren Buffett talk a lot about discovering the intrinsic value of a company. So you know if a stock costs more than its real value, if the market price is lower than the intrinsic value, it's very likely that you'll find a profit in the future when the market price approaches or exceeds the intrinsic value. Financial assets, on the other hand, derive their value from contractual claims. 2 examples are stocks and bonds, which I'll explain shortly, and they're considered tangible assets among them. The most famous asset, stocks. If you don't know how they work, I'll simplify it so much that you'll completely understand by the end of this video. Stocks are the most well-known assets and have enormous potential for those who know how to invest in them. Stocks, also called shares, are a fraction of a company. When you buy a stock, you're basically acquiring a small percentage of that company. Imagine having a house, and you can come and buy a brick. You have a right to that brick and are part of the house because you own that brick. But why on earth would someone want to own a brick? First, I need you to understand that when you buy a stock, you're basically becoming an associate of that company. If you own enough shares, which means you have a larger stake in the company, you may also have voting rights when the company makes important decisions. 2 ways to make money with stocks. There are mainly 2 ways to profit from stocks. The first, which is the most common, is capital gains. This means you buy a stock and wait for its price to rise, and then sell it. For example, you might buy a stock for $5 and then sell it for $7. You would profit $2 and be ready to move on. However, prices can go up and down depending on market demand and supply. The more demand a stock has, the more it will cost. So if you believe a stock will grow in demand in the future, you should buy it because it will appreciate, meaning you can sell it for a higher price. However, you must be careful if your predictions are wrong and the price only drops, causing you to lose money. The second way to make money with stocks is through dividends, which are issued annually, quarterly, or semi-annually, twice a year. Dividends are equivalent to your stake in that company. Going back to the brick example, if you buy 100 bricks, you'll receive 1% of the house's profits. Does that make sense to you? Let us know in the comments. How to buy stocks. The easiest way to do this is by opening an investment account through an online stock brokerage. Your bank probably also offers these services, so you can invest traditionally directly with your bank. Fees apply in both cases, so each transaction is regulated and taxed. Real estate. Property is also an asset in certain cases. As I mentioned earlier, owning a house to live in for the rest of your life without the intention of selling it is not an asset, it's an expense. But then there are real estate investors who invest in undervalued properties to resell or rent out. That's when it becomes an asset. This is very simple in theory, but it's a completely different story in practice. Let's understand better how it works. As a real estate guy, you start your day looking for interesting deals. You search for undervalued properties. But what would undervalued properties be? It means you're looking for something with a lot of potential but has been poorly managed for a while, so it might have some problems to solve, which explains the low price. You'll solve these problems, which could be modernizing it, repainting it, or adding furniture, and then resell the property for a higher price. There are many factors that influence the price of a property. It's not just about how it's managed. Things like timing, location, neighborhood, economic indicators, and interest rates are just a few examples. Instead of reselling the property, you could rent it out after fixing it, which would ensure extra income every month. There are multiple types of properties: residential, industrial, land, commercial, special use. But I know many of you currently don't have the necessary money to invest in these types of properties. But that doesn't mean you can't start acquiring these types of assets. First, you can always learn how to do it. Another option is to buy REITs, real estate investment trusts. With REITs, you wouldn't need all the knowledge. You would just trust a company to invest your money in real estate, and they would give you a dividend in return for your investment. Many claim these are great assets because they provide high dividend yields and long-term appreciation, meaning prices increase and you withstand inflation. Is your knowledge an asset? Knowledge is indeed an intangible asset, and the reason it's considered an asset is quite simple. Imagine you own a marketing company. As the founder of this successful company, you can't do everything yourself, so you need to delegate functions and tasks. First, you hire an accountant and a financial advisor to take care of that side of the business. Then you start hiring content creators because you need them to create the content that will be marketed. Then you need to hire good salespeople to find even more customers for your company. They should take on leads and convert them into buyers. The better the salespeople you hire, the more customers you will close, the more money you will make. Do you understand where I'm going with this? If you invest in hiring talented people who know how to sell, their knowledge becomes an asset. It simply becomes something you will leverage to make more money. Furthermore, the return on your investment is absolutely measurable, since you can easily calculate how much you spend monthly or commission per salesperson. And their knowledge value is defined by how much money they bring in. How does this apply to you? You are unlikely to have a company that needs to hire people, so here's the idea. You can become your own asset if you learn a valuable skill that you know entrepreneurs need to grow their businesses. Learning is key, and the better your knowledge becomes, the more you will be paid for it. Now you need to watch this video. Signs Money is Coming Your Way by Warren Buffett. Hope you enjoyed our video today. If you did, give it a like and share it with others who need this content. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe for more content like this. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.